This Capricorn full moon happening just one day after the summer solstice is one that is really spotlighting how far we've come. It's really this potent cosmic time of celebration, of looking back on specifically how far we've come in terms of the structure and consistency we've built and the foundations that we've built over the years. And it's also spotlighting maybe some areas of our life where we might feel a bit hindered from growing or kind of stepping up to the plate in terms of the way that the world or the universe has been calling us to grow. And that's mainly because we see that Saturn will be playing a notable role around the time of this lunation. Hello friends, it's your girl Alina. Welcome back to another video. In this one, we'll dive into the top things to know about this upcoming full moon happening at 1 degree in the sign of Capricorn. Now, as always, if you'd like a full outline of this video along with the journal prompts that I cover and more, emailed directly to you, then be sure to sign up for my astrology newsletter where you will get full moon and new moon rundown for every single one of the year. Also, at the time of this new moon, I will be heading out to Thailand for our line's very first annual retreat. So I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to keep you posted. And if you'd like to follow along and see what we're up to, be sure to follow the social media links that I left in the description box below. And speaking of retreats, I am over the moon excited to tell you that we have decided our next retreat location, and that will be in Costa Rica in 2025. That is right. We have locked in the dates, we've locked in all the details, and if you are interested in coming, especially because we have so much time to plan, whether that's for planning around budgeting, scheduling, everything, be sure to check it out and see if you want to come for the second annual trip. Links will be in the description box, and I am so excited about it. So go ahead and check out all the details. But with that said, let's dive into this full moon. So as many of you already know, full moons mark the midway point in a lunar cycle. It's its energetic peak, and it's considered this astrological culmination point. I like to call it a cosmic spotlight, and it tends to illuminate aspects of our own lives that we're sort of midway through a journey where it's matured in some way, and it highlights things that are and aren't working for us. One of the reasons why you see that people do full moon rituals where they maybe get clear on things that they want to let go of and they want to energetically release. One of the reasons why they do that is because if you choose to do that around this time, just as the light wanes from the surface of the moon over the course of the next 2 weeks, so too can the energetic connection and energy around anything that you're looking to release also wane around the same time. And another reason why people choose to do that is because the full moon can be very illuminating, and that it tends to highlight how far we've come in terms of celebrating. So on one side of the coin, it's like, wow, I've come so far in this area of my life. And on the other side of the coin, it can highlight aspects of our lives that maybe we are realizing kind of hinder our growth within that realm. So what do I mean by the realms, right? Areas of our lives. That is determined by what sign the moon is in. And we know that the moon will be transiting Capricorn at the time of this full moon. So that means that aspects of our lives that Capricorn rules over are going to be really highlighted around this time. A lot of that has to do with our structure, our discipline, our maturity. A lot of the reason why that is because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is considered the strict teacher in astrology. And it's considered that because it is known to rule over the aspects of ourselves that we are called to grow into in this life. And also how if we don't stay open to that, or we don't go in that direction, we can sometimes have a hard time, like if we don't pick up on that message. And so a full moon in Capricorn is really one that is highlighting how far we've grown, and that can be a great time for celebration for that reason. But also, where have we maybe been stagnant or maybe avoidant of the reality of things, or maybe we're kind of like, oh, I want to stay in this stage a bit longer, but we've noticed through different moments in life, people, disappointments, whatever, that, oh, maybe it is time for me to kind of step up to the plate or grow into the person that I've noticed there's been this pattern in my life that, I've been kind of called to grow into. All right, next up, now that we know the general nature of this full moon, let's talk about the top transits that are happening around the time of this lunation that will be amplified because of it. So one of the first ones, as just mentioned, is that we have the summer solstice. This is obviously applies to everybody, this solstice influencing us, but especially if you're someone who has felt maybe like overthinking, things have been a bit too cerebral, maybe there's too much socializing in some way because of all the planets in Gemini. Have heart, hold on, because we see that the sun enters the sign of Cancer on June 20th, marking the beginning of the summer season and marking the summer solstice. So I want to extend a very happy birthday to all of my fellow Cancer friends. We love your intuitive, your incredibly empathic and loving, nurturing nature. The world needs more of you, so thank you for who you are. I have a Cancer rising in my life, and I absolutely appreciate how much they prioritize stability and nesting and being home and the comforts that entails. So we love you, my Cancer friends. But when we see that the sun enters a sign of Cancer, it really takes a lot of the themes of this Gemini, very airy, cerebral, all over the place, almost hyper, very curious, almost sort of toddler energy that we have in the late spring. And it kind of grounds it a bit in this Cancer water sign, where if you'd imagine, again, stages of life, Cancer really represents this stage where we're sort of tapping into our emotions. We're getting really clear on what brings us comfort, what brings us calm and safety. And you know, Cancer is the sign of the fourth house, which is all about our home life, our immediate sort of family, our immediate closer family units and where we stand within that more immediate social circle, but also how we nourish ourselves, how we find comfort, how we love ourselves and things like that. It's very emotionally intuitive in that way. And so when we see that the sun enters the sign, it really creates this interesting duality where the sun in Cancer is on the opposite side of the zodiac wheel in opposition with the moon, which is in Capricorn. And so with all full moons, we're always asked to strike a balance between these opposing astral bodies and embrace the duality between the two. So we have the themes of Capricorn, which is more so tied to our broader status in the world, our broader community, and where we stand, you know, in society in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to our ambition and how we contribute to the world on a broader scale. And then we have the sign of Cancer on the opposite side of the zodiac wheel, which is all about our more immediate community and our more immediate life, that being our home life, our more personal, private life, and there being this balance. And so around the time of this full moon, you might notice these themes pop up in your life in a more literal sense, where maybe you're invited to go out a lot more, you're invited to do more business things, and you're realizing you can kind of go down this path, but are you balancing the more nourishing, self-loving aspect of your life that involves maybe your more personal life and your sort of sanctuary, your home? And vice versa. Are you staying in too much and you're staying close to your closer circle and you're not broadening your horizons with the broader world of that Capricorn energy? So those are a few themes that you can definitely explore around this time. But overall, during this Cancer season, it just brings more easier flowing attention to our emotions, our empathy, and just creating safe spaces. And considering that Venus will be going into the sign of Cancer pretty soon as well. Actually, it already has, I believe. So considering that the sun and Venus are already in the sign, it's really making for a very lovey-dovey, comforting, nurturing summer in a lot of ways, in my opinion. We also see later on, next week on the 29th, Saturn will be going retrograde. And while that will definitely likely bring a bit of mishap, especially for any of us who are the type to kind of surrender when it seems like the universe wants us to stop and slow down, it really lends itself to there being a slower, more comforting summer for many of us. All right, next up, if you've been feeling a bit timid about speaking your truth, or you've been kind of wanting to really align your actions with the things that you've been talking about, and you're kind of like building up that courage, you're like, oh, I'm finally ready to kind of get into action in some way. And this action doesn't necessarily need to be associated with work or anything outside of the home. It could definitely be something like, oh, I really want to get clear on and work on nourishing myself in some way and learning more about my nutrition, or I'm going to finally tackle that area of the house. It could be plenty of those areas. If you've kind of been feeling that way, then on the day of this full moon, when we see that Mercury in Cancer sextiles Mars in Taurus, it'll definitely bring in this boost of confidence for a lot of us for that reason. And I say that because we have Mercury, the planet of our thinking processes, information exchange, conversations, how we process things and how we share and receive information. When it's sextiling, having this very complementary aspect with Mars, the planet of action, the planet of aggression sometimes, but really the planet of energy. Think about even like physical energy. When they come together in this way, it feels like having a caffeinated beverage in the morning right before you get started on something that you've been meaning to. You've maybe been mulling over in your mind for a bit. and you finally feel ready to put into action. You might notice that somebody comes to you, or you just notice that they're in action. They're finally ready to kind of do something. This can also be a great day, an auspicious day for kind of initiating something. I mean, it's not the most benefic day in terms of electional astrology, but especially if you feel like there's been some stagnation and you've been overthinking things for a while, especially in the springtime, there's just been something in your head. This day could be a good day to kind of initiate it, to kind of like tap into a bit of courage for that reason. But actually, with that said, it will be important for you to pause to really reflect and make sure that you have your words in the right order, and that also you're thinking straight and kind of seeing things for what they are. And I say that because on the day of this Capricorn full moon, we're going to have the moon squaring Neptune in Pisces. So when we see this type of transit, it's the type that can sometimes fog our perception of things. It can make us sometimes feel a bit insecure, almost feeling unsure about our perception or how we're kind of taking in something or experiencing something. It can definitely be the type of transit that also makes you kind of question the validity or, the legitimacy of maybe how far you've come in some ways or what you're doing. You might question things a bit, but it's important to remember that this full moon, it's really highlighting aspects of our lives that involve a lot of times our career and things like that. And so around this time, we also might feel like we're questioning things a bit because Neptune comes into play. And one of the reasons why that is because Neptune is the planet of our imagination, the spiritual realm in a lot of ways, but also idealism and even escapism. And so when it's having this more difficult square aspect with the moon, which influences our emotional state, our intuition, and things like that, and even our relationships, it can make it so things might feel a bit confusing. So definitely, tread lightly when it comes to maybe speaking your truth, maybe pause to process things a bit more, but just know that Neptune's coming in and it can kind of make things feel a little bit more confusing. And I not only say that because the moon is squaring Neptune, but also because the sun in Cancer will also be squaring Neptune. So it'll be playing a pretty notable role. And because the sun will be squaring Neptune, it's the type of transit that can really add to the second guessing, really add to a potential of insecurity and kind of questioning, just how far you've come, and also feeling kind of worn out. You might feel a bit tired and feeling like I've been kind of going towards this for a while and feeling a bit pessimistic. But again, remember, these transits are fleeting and they can kind of influence our perception a bit, but it's important to kind of hold out and see the bigger picture of things. And by the way, if you've made it this far in the video and you haven't already liked the video or hit a follow to support my work that is free to you, what are you doing? Be sure to do that. The number one way to support this video is hitting the like button. The number one way to support my work in general is hitting the subscribe button and the bell for extra points. But in terms of general actions that you can do to align with this full moon, one of the top things that comes to mind is write down your accomplishments, big or small, how far you've come, and specifically accomplishments when it comes to your career path, when it comes to the consistency that you've put into something, when it comes to the discipline, the maturity, the growth that you have taken on at any point in your life, but really leaning more towards in some way that you contributed to society or contributed to the people around you. But also it could be just how you contributed to yourself in a lot of ways. But we are community-based organisms and Capricorn does have to do with the broader community. So definitely think about that to celebrate that. And then on the flip side, if you're looking to release anything right now, it can be looking at the other side of the coin of those things. So maybe is there anything that you feel like might be hindering your personal maturity, your personal growth in some way? You learning these lessons that you feel like have been kind of reoccurring in your life over time. If you think about it, something does come to mind of I have been kind of wanting to grow into that, or I've been holding on to this one thing, and if I maybe let go of it, it would set me free in some way. And obviously letting go of something doesn't mean that it magically goes away. It's really about setting an intention to take aligned steps moving forward to let those things go. And this can be people, places, environments, things, habits, even limiting beliefs. All of these things can apply to this time. But if you want to do some form of a full moon ritual, especially if you have your Auraline astrology planner, you can flip to the dedicated full moon ritual page for the month of June to totally find that guide. All right, next we will do the journal prompts for this Capricorn full moon. So if you have your Auraline Astrology Planner, be sure to flip over to that page and you will see the journal prompts in the video description and on the screen here. So the first prompt is, what structure or practical lifestyle choice have you made or created that your younger self would thank you for? What self-care practice or activity has consistently brought you calm and comfort? Do you feel aligned with the overall career or professional path that you've taken this year? Why or why not? And finally, is there anything that you're ready to release during this full moon? All right, y'all, that concludes the video. If you made it to the end of this, I would love if you commented 3 tree emojis to let me know that you did. And by the time that this comes out, I will be heading to Thailand, y'all, for this retreat. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I just screamed and I just like woke up my cat. I have one right here as well, one of my babies. But anyway, I'm so excited about it and I am going to keep y'all updated. I plan to post a few things here, but it's mainly going to be on my Instagram and the Auraline Instagram. So if you haven't already followed that, be sure to check it out. Get a little preview of what the retreat will be when you come with us next year, because you are invited, okay? I'm just really excited, but I'm sending you my love and I hope that you have a beautiful full moon. But with that said, I will leave you with my favorite quote, and that is, be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. All right.